Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel, and today we are talking about the current state of Cardfight Vanguard. If you still need any Vanguard cards, you can go to 50cards.shop and use code Solemn for a discount. There's the new trial decks, there's set 6, which is hopefully going to have some big impacts into standard as well. I don't know about that, but we'll see. So anything Vanguard, 50cards.shop, use the code Solemn. So if you don't know what the current state of Vanguard is, essentially I make this type of video once in a while to basically recap what I'm thinking of right now, you know, in every aspect of the game and the franchise. I just go over all my thoughts one by one, and that way you know what I'm thinking, you know. Because I might say something on Twitter to laugh, you know, to have a little joke, or in a video I might say something mean or something, and you think, oh, this must be that he hates Vanguard or he loves Vanguard in every aspect, or you know, all that. This kind of video basically puts into context every single thought I'm currently having. That way you know, okay, that was a joke or that was not a joke, and so forth. Again, we'll go through all the various aspects of it, and let's see. So first of all, we have the anime. For the anime, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't watched it. It doesn't mean it's bad. I actually have no idea. It's just I haven't had time. You know, trying to juggle YouTube channels, business, actually competing in 2 card games now. It's been a lot, and I just haven't had time to go like, oh yeah, I'll go watch the anime now. It's not that high on the priority list. I have been seeing people saying that, like, was it season 2 of Overdress is like incredible, apparently, but again, I haven't seen. I probably should. Chris has been, you know, fighting me every single day. He's like standing at my window going tuk tuk tuk. Hey, Maxime, you should watch the anime. And then he goes back to Japan. So that's where we're at. I don't know, but I hope it's good. Then we have the competitive side of the game. Now, not just, you know, format by format, but more so like how are people competing? You know, like we just had Springfest, and in my opinion, Springfest was incredible. We can talk about, oh, the overtrigger sucks or something else along those lines, but Springfest, format-wise, everything was awesome. I do find that by the tail end of it, every other event everywhere no longer had mask mandate, so it was a bit weird to go like, oh yeah, we're going to Springfest London and we still have to put on this mask, but every single other place on Earth no longer has it. So that was like a bit of a weird disconnect, but overall, okay, that was the policy, awesome. But beyond that, I have like no remarks. It was just well run, it was really fun. The formats were also super healthy, or at least like interesting. They were very, how do I say, not as sacky as they could be. You know, some formats, sometimes you're like, wow, this format's a dice roll right now. And other times you're like, oh, this format is actually really interesting. Dice roll doesn't matter that much. Trigger luck doesn't matter as much, and so forth. So overall, Springfest was awesome. Then we had BRO. Sadly, I couldn't enter BRO. Like, I entered one of them, and that was it. I got destroyed at BRO, by the way. I entered with a Dark Irregular, and that was just an awful idea. I already knew that going in. Like, I'm gonna gacha roll with this deck, and it might suck ass, and it might be super awesome. That's how that deck works. If you open all your chargers and number of turns, it's gonna be great. If you don't, the deck sucks. I knew that going in, but it just, you know, I hadn't put in time in testing, I hadn't put in time in anything because I just got too busy. Also, however, I will say, issue with BRO this time around was that BCS was so close that it was very hard to get as motivated for it. When we had BRO and Springfest online, the other times, you know, during COVID, it was like, damn, this is our one time that we can actually compete at a high level Vanguard right now because everything is closed. So that made Springfest online and BRO really interesting to try hard for, because it was like your one shot basically. Whereas this time, we had just had Springfest, which was like a great high to go back to, and then BCS was just around the corner, so you were looking forward to that, and that made it so it was like BRO, I didn't really feel quite as, you know, motivated to really try for that one, so I didn't test. I entered only one of them, and so forth. But with that being said, it was very well produced, so like there's nothing wrong with how BRO was run. It was awesome. It's just, you know, timing wise, and compared to the other 2 big highs of the year, let's say, it wasn't as exciting anymore, at least for me. But again, no complaints. I find the quality of streams for Bushiroad events is really damn good. 0 complaints. Awesome. But that brings us to the next one of the competitive side, and I already kind of spoiled it. We have BCS coming back, and I am so excited for BCS to be back. Like, Springfest was awesome, obviously, but competing to go to Worlds, that's just something else entirely. That is so damn cool. I've been waiting for this. BCS is everything. With that being said, there are some caveats, because Worlds isn't in Japan, And I saw a lot of people very angry about this, and I understand, but I also understand why they had to do this. Because Japan right now is barely letting in people. So if you had it in Japan, a bunch of people would, try to apply because they qualified, and they would go, oh, sorry, you're not getting in. So what are you gonna do? Have a world with 7 people because the 40 other people that qualified couldn't get into the country? I don't think so. So I understand why they had to do it. But it's still a little bit sad. All the locations have their pros and cons, and we'll get to that. But to me, the world's experience is Japan. Like, of course, the competitive side of it, nah, you can do that anywhere. We can do that in a basement in Chicago if you wanted to. But the whole, like, you arrive there, and of course, like, a country's culture is completely different from one to another. So the whole culture is different, and you can go to, like, all of these different card shops, and you have walls filled with Vanguard cards and Vanguard players everywhere. And you go to Akihabara, of course, and then you can do some other stuff, and you have, like, all the different foods, and you hang with your friends in, like, a country that you've never been to before, or at least you don't go often. That whole vibe is so amazing. And to then have that no longer be part of it, of course, that's a bit sad. Again, though, that's not in Bushiroad's control. It just is what it is. It's what the world is like right now. It's what the Japanese government has decided is best for their country. Too bad, But, it's a little bit of a bummer. Now, on the flip side, though, that also means that some people who qualify, who get second or third, and so they don't get a paid flight, because if you don't know, basically the first place of a BCS gets a sponsored invite, so they get paid for, to get there. But second and third get a regular invite, and they have to pay themselves to get there. If you're living in America, this is going to be a fair bit cheaper, because we've seen in the past where someone would qualify, get third place at Kara Expo, in Anaheim, and then they go like, oh, but I don't have money to reach Japan, so I'm not going. So this time, at least for Americans, it'll be cool that they can basically reach it more easily. The same is true on the other side. If someone qualified in, Singapore or something, LA might be much harder to reach for them. It's gonna have its pros and cons. Personally, I would have, of course, loved Japan, but I understand it's impossible. One more issue, though. The euro has been losing purchasing power compared to the dollar. Well, basically, every currency has been losing purchasing power, but the euro has weakened compared to the dollar. And this means Europeans will actually be paying like 30% more in LA and reaching LA than normally. Compared to any other location on the world, America has become more expensive due to the dollar strength. This world's experience will actually be very expensive for many. If I were to qualify by getting third place, I'm going to have to spend so much more than if it was going to Japan, especially because the yen also weakened. But again, let's not get into, the economics too much, but just be aware, for a European, budget-wise, this is gonna hurt hard. For someone from a less wealthy country somewhere in Eastern Asia or something like that, similar story. Basically, Japan would have been the most affordable given that you had to pick a country. So that's a bit sad as well. Just wanted to throw that in there, but yeah, it's out of their control. I'm still super excited to try and get to Worlds, hopefully compete there and so forth. So overall, no complaints. It's just had to throw it in there, can't put it under the rug or something like that. That brings us to the health of the formats, which is of course also a part of the whole competitive experience. So like I said, Springfest formats were amazing. We can always say, oh, this should be banned, oh, this should be banned, oh, this should be banned. Yeah, sure, you could like improve things and so forth at any time in the game, but Springfest format was really, really nice. I do not think it'll be the case quite as much this time. So let's first go over standard. Standard health-wise, I feel is pretty solid. I don't actually have major complaints. A lot of decks are pretty solid, a lot of decks are pretty even, but the only thing I'm kind of feeling in standard right now is, first of all, it's still pretty sacky because going first is insane. Over triggers are insane. That's the same in premium. But also because trigger power is so much bigger than unit power and your hands are so small, it can feel quite sacky. However, that's been the case for standard or like the standard format throughout the ages. That's just, you have a smaller card pool, you're still trying to get into that flow of power and so forth. And so that's always going to be the case. The bigger issue for me though is that I feel the format has been the same for quite a while now. And that could be partially because of COVID having like product delays still. It could also just be because of the slower release schedule. So for example, right now, if I were to enter a standard tournament, I would do it with Gravidia again. So like I played Gravidia in the previous BRO and got top 8 with it. It was a really good deck back then. And then set 4 came out and it was still a really good deck. And it was virtually the same deck. Like, yeah, you got Baku Burrito and so forth, but it played the exact same. And since set 4, nothing has changed. Like set 5 didn't really change the deck. Now, I don't know if set 6 is strong, but set 6 will only be out for us like in the later half of the season. So I'm kind of like semi-burned on the format in the sense that if you're playing right now, you're playing Prison, same deck from the whole century. You're playing Nirvana. That kind of changed with set 4, but still, it's been like the samey to me. And so, yeah, right now, I don't know. I'm not feeling quite as hyped to play that format as I was before. Like in set 3, I was super hyped on it. Set 4, I was quite hyped on it. Now I'm like, it's a bit too samey. Now, again, maybe set 6 is a super fresh breath of air. That's totally possible. And maybe you don't feel this way. Again, this doesn't mean the format is bad right now. It's not a bad format right now, I feel. It's just a little bit sucky, and it has been a little bit the same for me, but no major complaints, really. Just that's how I'm feeling. Now, for V, I'm actually a big fan of the clan collection that just came out. I do have to say, I know about the quality control issues. I saw some people see like, oh, damn, they mistranslated certain things, and then they have to do erratas for like misprints, and I saw some cards being miscut, stuff like that. I saw a lot of people get like super upset about this, and I don't feel the same way. Like, shit happens. Yeah, something went wrong. Yeah, they're trying to fix it, by the way. They're gonna do some kind of wave where they fix it. I don't know. They saw it, they addressed it on Twitter, I think, and then they're gonna fix it, they said. But I don't think that's like the end of the world. You can go and say, oh, this is a company structural wide issue. Clearly quality control is going down, blah, blah, blah. I don't know about that. I don't think it's the biggest deal. I hope they solve it. I know it's gonna be annoying to like have to explain to people that certain things are errated, during BCS season if they don't believe you. But it is what it is. I'm not really that big of a complainer for this, especially because I feel design-wise, they finally got it right. I've been complaining about clan collections for a little while now, or at least, overall they were fine, but sometimes I would bring up the complaint that the clan collections were too weak, that they wouldn't change anything. And that was true. The past however many clan collections, it was like, oh, this is all mediocre and not as good as the stuff we have. Oh, this is all weak and not as good as the stuff we have. Like, the only change that clan collection made was like Raging Form Dragon. And then before that, it was like Spectral Duke Beatrice Prism, and that was like 2 years ago. Crazy stuff like that. This time, however, I feel, okay, some of these are really solid. Like, I might actually see some meta changes with these clan collections. So overall, I really liked how they nailed the power level, seemingly, from so far. Again, we don't know, the season is gonna play out and so forth. Can't predict that 100%, but just from the first few feelings, I'm like, okay, cool. They got the power level right. The design is pretty cool. No complaints on that front. And that's more important to me than a print defect here and there or a wrong translation. Would it be better if it was fixed? Absolutely. But to me, the gameplay is way more important than those little things. And they're gonna fix those little things anyway. So overall, big fan of the clan collection, actually. Also, the V ban list was pretty good. Some might argue some things were missed. I don't know. Also note that we are getting a ban list apparently in September. Like, we're getting like what is it? Like a product stream type of deal in September. So I'm assuming usually we also get a ban list at the same time. It's quite quick, I feel, but maybe that'll still change some things in Premium V or whatever. We don't know. Could also be no ban list though. I don't think they've announced one, but it just feels like the moment to do it. But it does feel pretty dice rolly, clan collection. I don't know if that's correct. Like, it is just the first feeling so far, but at least it's change. So V, no major complaints beyond being pretty dice rolly, but I like that there's change. I will take this any day over playing the same decks I've been playing for a century. So pretty cool. Then we move to Premium. Now, speaking of dice rolly, Premium so far, we've seen a lot of complaints on Twitter. Not as much as previously. There have been worse times, like when we had the Big Six, but still some people are complaining about ripples, some people are complaining about Mystery Flare, and I think those cries are justified. I do not like those decks in the format. It reminds me quite a bit of BCS 2019. I actually tweeted about this the other day, how Springfest felt really good and that we should be thankful, because I remember BCS 2019 season where it was like, you play Ezel and you hope to high roll, you play Neo and you hope to high roll, and you play DI and you hope you don't get high rolled. And that was like awful. That season was the sackiest shit I've ever played. I hated it. I was afraid that we would get something like that again at one point, because Springfest in comparison felt amazing. So this time, I don't know if it'll be as bad, but I'm still like very cautious. And so when people complain about these going first decks like MFD and Ripple, I understand people are upset. Now, do I know if it's going to be as big of a deal? I don't know. I haven't tested thoroughly yet, so I can't say. But that's the thing that we're seeing so far. Beyond those potential problem children, I do feel Premium Collection was really, really cool. It has to be said, I feel they got the power level very right. Some cards are really good and having impact in the format. Others are niche uses, but nothing feels like ridiculous. You could argue maybe Exterminate with Stunverse is a little bit too much for one clan, but okay, overall, just I like the set a lot. I also liked previous Premium Collections though 2020 didn't feel that great, but overall they nailed Premium Collection, and then they nailed Clan Collection. Back to back. Like, the fact that they could nail both sets is really cool, because this means if we just address certain things in premium, we now have like a bunch of new powerful cards that are all really cool and really fun to play with. And even now, even if things don't get addressed, I still feel like you have a lot of really cool stuff to play with. So overall, I'm just happy that they nailed sets like this. There was a time where they weren't nailing sets like this. I do not know how good they nailed set 6, so I don't know if it's the same for D. If it was home run after home run, that's incredible, but I literally do not know. I don't know. Like, overall, I'm pretty positive feeling. Again, I've addressed like the few things where I'm not as happy, and we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, I think Vanguard's pretty solid right now. I'm super hyped for BCS, super hyped to start playtesting again. I have less than a month. That's not feeling great. I was playing in the Yu-Gi-Oh! European Championship. I had no time for testing yet, but I'll catch up. Don't you worry. Hope you found this interesting. Again, if you need anything Vanguard, go to 50cards.shop, use the code Solemn. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.